Armed militias take to the streets on July 4th. Now, we've got a very interesting story here. It says armed black militias challenges white nationalists at Georgia's Stone Mountain Park. Now, I grew up in Atlanta, so I grew up around Stone Mountain. I used to grow up going to Stone Mountain. This is an interesting story, though, because we have a black armed militia known as NFAC, the Not Effing Around Coalition. Now, I'm not entirely sure what they're about. Like, on a baseline level, I fully support this. I fully support black people getting together and celebrate, or not celebrating, but defending the Second Amendment by arming and forming their own militia. I have zero problem with that. Actually, I think it's a great thing. I think it's a good and healthy thing. They need, people need to be able to form their own militias, to be able to defend their neighborhoods, defend their interests, everything like that. My question, which has been, I'm not entirely clear on what their ideology is. So if I have any issues with this militia, it has nothing to do with armed black men forming a militia. I, in fact, support that. Black Guns Matter. I like that movement. I think it was, what was it? Maj Toure started that, I think. So I'm all for the Black Guns Matter. Black people should have guns. They should be exercising their Second Amendment rights. They should be working within the framework of the Constitution. But I have been hearing some different things about what this group is about. But before I get into that, let's go ahead and look at this article from Newsweek and kind of see what this is about. About 1,000 heavily armed militias, about 1,000 heavily armed militia, all of whom were black, marched through Georgia's Stone Mountain Park on Saturday, challenging white nationalist groups and others in the area to either come out and fight or join them in demonstrating against the government. Now, I saw a few videos, and I saw them challenging the Three Percenters, the Boogaloo Boys, all of that. I didn't hear them actually inviting them to join them, because I think they actually might have been surprised by the response that they got. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more later, because we have another story that is going to tie into this. Here we have Stone Mountain State Park officials said the militia group was peaceful, orderly, and escorted by police as they called for the removal of the country's largest Confederate monument near Atlanta. Again, I grew up going to Stone Mountain. I mean, we went to the laser shows as a kid. They'd have the little glow sticks that you pop. So, when I'm not a fan of taking down any of these monuments because they're parts of history. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't get about the Confederate monuments, is that they look at it and they say, well, the North won, so we should tear it down because these are monuments to traitors. But you have to look at it from a regional perspective. The land is still the land, and that land has history, and the Confederacy was part of the history of that land. And so I don't think that you should purge that from history. So I'm not for tearing down the Confederate monuments, and I understand the whole thing about the Confederates being traitors, how they lost the war, we shouldn't celebrate them. But at the end of the day, it is regional history, and history is important no matter what. Everything we learn comes from history. Stone Mountain State Park said the Black Militia Group was peaceful, orderly, and escorted by police as they called for the removal of the country's largest Confederate near Atlanta. Okay, I think I actually just covered that. Now, I saw some video of the group, and they seemed really well disciplined. They seemed like they knew what they were doing. I heard them say, if you're here to kill people, get the F out. We don't want you here for that. They were talking about trigger discipline. They were talking about gun safety, keeping your gun down. It seemed like a fairly well-oiled machine, and I have to commend them for that. That's awesome. So, like I said, I have no problem with black militias out there protecting their interests. I think that's a good thing. To me, it's just what their ideology is, because I've also heard that they are sort of black separatists. I hear that they want their own... They want American land given to them so they can form their own black nation within America. I'm not for that. To me, I'm not for white separatists. I'm not for black separatists. To me, they are two sides of the same coin. I think that it's racist in its founding or in its root principles. So I am not for the separatist movement, no matter which angle it's coming from. Racism is racism, and the whole idea of this country that I believe is founded upon and should be the way of the nation is that we can all learn to figure out our differences and live together. But we have to have some sort of core root understanding within the framework of the Constitution, within the framework of what it was intended, and not hold on to the historical failings of us living up to those ideas. So, videos posted to social media show the group, the Not Effing Around Coalition, meeting at the massive nine-story court sculpting that depicts former Confederate President Jefferson Davis and Southern Generals Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson. NFAC founder Grandmaster Jay told Newsweek via phone Sunday that the militia members at Stone Mountain on Saturday were 100% black. They were not affiliated with Black Lives Matter. Yeah, you heard them say that. We are not Black Lives Matter. We are not this. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty figuring out exactly what they are, because I don't think they actually fit neatly into a box of what we have, our ideas for these different groups that are out there. They're certainly not, I don't think they're right-wing, because they do engage in the identity politics, which is, I mean, I guess you could say, I mean, the white nationalists, though, people talk about white nationalists, and when you hear people like Richard Spencer, who actually are legitimately white nationalists, they're not conservative. They actually agree with a lot of the things that the far left says and does. They're just looking at it from a white perspective, from a white identitarian and ethno perspective, and I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Either the leftism or the white nationalism. I'm not for that. But we have issues today where any group that is conservative or right-wing is called far-right, are called white nationalists, are called alt-right. They're given these labels so that you can't actually know what somebody really is. So if they say, like I said, the group was calling out the 3%ers, they might have said the Oath Keepers, they said the Boogaloo Boys. Where are they at? We're right here. Where are you? Well, I think you might have identified the wrong enemies, because the media always calls these people far right and far right extremists. But look at like the Proud Boys. So the Proud Boys were smeared as being far right, white supremacist, white nationalist, all this. But then you go to a Proud Boys rally, or you see the Proud Boys hanging out, and you see people of all stripes, all colors, all creeds. You see gay people, straight people. They're just people that love America and love Western values and traditions. They have absolutely nothing to do with ethnocentrism. And there was a video going around a while back where it was Antifa on one side of the street and Proud Boys on the other side of the street. And you had these Antifa people, which were essentially all white, yelling at this black Proud Boy, calling him all kinds of slurs. I mean, hard R slurs and things like that. And then you saw this guy getting all mad. He wanted to go over there and fight them. And you saw his white Proud Boy brothers holding him back, saying, nah, man, don't let him get to you. You're one of us. We love you. You're our brother. Don't get yourself in any trouble. Don't get yourself in any jackpot with these people. So you're starting to see the narrative really fall apart in what they call far right and what they call white nationalist. And they always imbue that white people have to be concerned with their race. But as you saw from the video that I showed the other day, I showed a statistic from a Pew Research poll that showed, in general, white people don't care about their race. So I think it was extremely important and very important in terms of how important your race is to your identity, or your ethnicity is to your identity. And 5% of white people said it was extremely important, 10% said it was very important, and that aggregated to a total of 15% that actually even found their race to be important. On the black side, however, it aggregated to 74%. I forget, it was like 52%, I think, said it was extremely important. So it was if not a majority, at least a close plurality. So all the evidence shows that there's not really much thing as white nationalists. I mean, sure, there are a few groups, and the problem with mislabeling everybody as white nationalists that aren't white nationalists is that when you actually get a white nationalist group, you have people like me who just have to assume that they're not white nationalists, and we end up defending the wrong guys. It's not good. We need to be clear with our language and honest. But the media is never honest about how they report on anything that has to do with race, relations, and especially from the white perspective. Or from white groups or groups that they deem white. I mean, they call the Proud Boys white nationalists when a lot of the people aren't even white. White has nothing to do with being a Proud Boy. So they just mean that they call anything far right. Anything, to the right of Leon Trotsky is going to be far right to them. So they really need to get honest about what it is or who people are that they're referring to. Because if they keep lying, if they keep stretching, if they keep exaggerating, if they keep imbuing falsities onto what these groups really represent, then we have no way of knowing what they really are, and we may end up putting our support behind the wrong damn people. We as conservatives, we're not white nationalists, but we are Second Amendment supporters. So, yeah, we intrinsically want to support a group of people that are out there protesting and demonstrating their defense for the Second Amendment. But if they end up being white nationalists, and we didn't know that because, they call everybody white nationalists. Yeah, I bet they aren't. So let's just defend them because they're defending one thing that I like. Well, we could end up looking like total, we could end up being guilty by association, where we don't want to be guilty by association because we didn't actually know that these people legitimately were bad. So let's go ahead here. NFC found they're not affiliated with Black Lives Matter. We are a black militia. We aren't protesters. We aren't demonstrators. We don't come to sing. We don't come to chant. That's not what we do. No, they're a militia. And like I said, I think that's very good. I think it's good that black people are forming a militia. Now, they do seem to not fully understand who their enemies are. I wish they understood that their enemies were mostly Democrats and that it's not really a racial issue in terms of who they are identifying as their racial enemies. Most of the people that they're identifying don't actually care about race. So, let's see. I want to show you a second article, but I don't want to get ahead of myself here either. Let me go ahead and continue with this. The NFAC head explained why several videos show the militia members alongside demonstrators earlier in the day before heading to Stone Mountain. Grandmaster Jay told Newsweek the sister of Rayshard Brooks, who was killed outside an Atlanta Wendy's by... Yeah, we know all that. Requested NFAC militia to provide her with a security escort to a downtown rally that began at the site of her brother's death. Our initial goal was to have a formation of our militia in Stone Mountain to send a message that as long as you are abolishing all these statues across the country, what about this one? Grandmaster Jay said, referencing the massive Confederate carving. Yeah, I don't think we should be taking down the Confederate statues, though. I think they're a part of history, and they're a part of regional history. If you're not from the South, you're probably not going to understand that, but you can at least understand the concept that regions do have their own histories, and that's part of it. He added that he must commend Stone Mountain Police for offering their all-black militia support as they exercise their constitutional rights on July 4th. So that's something else that I can get behind this group on, is they're not anti-police. They are showing support for what the police actually do that is beneficial to protecting our rights, and they are showing that they are exercising their constitutional rights. All for that. Good job, guys. Really support that. But it's some of the ideas of black separatists and that kind of thing that I can't get behind. There's only so far I can give support to this militia, not because it's a black militia, but because it is a identitarian, it is ideologically identitarian militia. That I cannot get on board with. It was all black. There were no brown people, no white people. Everyone was black. I'm not a protester. I'm the commanding general of my militia. We are swearing in new members. I see, and that's cool. He's a commanding member of a militia, and that is so in the spirit of the Constitution. I'm for that. He added, highlighting that there was a second militia show of force Saturday near Phoenix. So here we have a little video of them marching, and you can see they're using proper trigger discipline. They're in tight formation. They're all moving together. This is good. This is good.
Black power.
Yeah, I'm not so big on the black power thing.
Black love.
Black equality, I'm all for. Black love, I like black love. That's perfectly good. I mean, anybody who's seen my Revved Up videos, I talked in a couple episodes back about how I used to work in the rap game. I used to hang around black people all the time. I've got a very favorable view of them, and I want them to stand up and identify who their real enemies are, so that we can work it out. But I think everything needs to be worked out in terms of through a constitutional framework. That's just my take on the issue. The coalition of black militia met at the monument, which is historically tied to the birth of the Ku Klux Klan and has more recently been the site of white nationalist rallies. Again, I can't trust that they were actually white nationalist rallies because I don't know who these people are, and they throw this term around so willy-nilly, and it's so many people that it doesn't apply to, that maybe these were white nationalists, but I'm still not buying it until you show me the receipts. Leaders of the militia frequently halted the protest to challenge local white supremacists and far-right Second Amendment advocates to stop hiding. First of all, Second Amendment advocates are not far-right. They are conservative. They are constitutionalists. And this is what really gets me. As somebody, I do call myself a conservative, but I believe conservatism is actually centrism. Because if you are a conservative, you're trying to conserve the founding principles of this nation. That means the founding principles set the fulcrum for the political wings of our nation, going left and right from there. if you are a conservative, you are a centrist. We define left and right by the French Revolution, which was antithetical in spirit entirely to the American Revolution. So I don't like that we define our left versus right going back to the French Revolution, where it was Robespierre and off with your head. But yeah, I think they call everything far right. They call everything alt right. When was the last time you heard them say far left? They very rarely say that. They won't even call Antifa far left half the time. All right, so he goes, I don't see no white militia, the boogie boys, the 3%ers, and the rest of these scared-ass rednecks. That's the thing is, I don't think these people are your enemies. I don't think they hate you. In fact, I think most of them would probably support you. There's a comedian that I really, really like. His name is Josh Prey. He's a black guy from Florida, and he does these videos on YouTube where he talks about, 5 things I learned for doing this with my white friends, or 5 things I learned about this from my white friends. And he does a video called 5 things most people get wrong about rednecks. And he said one of the things that most people get wrong about rednecks is that they're all racist. He says most of them will welcome you with open arms, because it's the new South. The old South is dead. The new South is completely different, and it doesn't have the racism that it did in the history. But there's something about that mindset that will not allow the South to grow. And it's especially frustrating being somebody from the South, somebody who grew up in the New South. It was kind of part of that New South movement where I always viewed myself as colorblind, even growing up as a kid in the 90s. I never cared about race. Never. But they won't let the history go. They won't understand that we're not guilty of the sins of our fathers and grandfathers. And so a lot of these people, these militia people, these rednecks, and all these people that everybody thinks are racist, would welcome a black person into their home and sit them down for dinner, feed them, and have a great time, offer them a beer, and say, hey, this is fun, come on back next week, The rednecks just aren't racist like they used to be. We here, where the F you at, we're in your house. I mean, I guess, see, it's the bifurcation of along racial lines is just, it's getting really exhausting, because most of us white people, we just don't care. We don't care what color your skin is. We're going to treat you how we treat everybody else. And some of us are assholes. I can be an asshole, and I might be a dick to you sometime, but it has nothing to do with your race, because I'll be a dick to that white guy too. Now, actually, I'm actually not. I'm only a dick if I'm provoked or if something really angers me. If everybody that I meet, I give them a clean slate and I welcome them with open arms. I mean, I am imbued pretty much by Southern hospitality. I mean, anybody's welcome in my home until you prove otherwise. So John Bankhead, a spokesperson for the Stone Mountain Memorial Association, said the protests were orderly and acknowledged the Confederate monument is frequently used as a meeting place for far-right militia. Again, what does far-right even mean? To them, it just means anybody that's to the right of Leon Trotsky. It's a public park, a state park. We have these protests on both sides of the issues from time to time. We respect people's First Amendment right. That's good. That's good. They should let anybody they want have rallies there and do what they need to do, so long as they're permitted and everything is above board. Bankhead told WXIA-TV, "We understand the sensitivities of the issue here at the park, so we respect that and allow them to come as long as they are peaceful, which it has been." That's good. That's good. Videos shared by visitors to the park on Saturday showed several militia members responding to questions from confused motorists asking, "Who are you guys?" One member of the militia immediately threw the question right back at one white motorist and asked him about slavery reparations. See, what's the point of doing it that way? I mean, what if instead of being, hey, who are you guys? Who are you? When are you going to pay reparations? What you just said, we're a black militia. We are fighting. We're marching for our constitutional rights. And very well could be that person in the militia is like, oh, yeah, right on. Good luck. Good for you. Good on you guys. But instead, now you've got this guy who has just been basically intimidated by this group of armed people. It's not going to be good for the cause. It's not going to be good for the cause. You need to be able to be conversational with people and not be so standoffish. Not be so militant to people who are just curious. That's not cool. And actually, let me go ahead and go over to, because we had this other article, and they were talking about, I was talking just a minute ago about how he's saying, oh, where's the Boogaloo boys? Where are the 3%ers? Where are all these people? We're right here, and they're not their enemies, and we can see that from proof positive right here in this Daily Mail article. Armed Black Lives Matter activists and right-wing groups come together at Richmond Open Carry March in united show of support of the Second Amendment. These are, excuse me, had to clear my throat. These are going to be the images that the establishment and the media do not want anyone to see. It's going to be, look at that, Black Lives Matter. You got the Boogaloo boys with their Hawaiian shirts, which I kind of love that the Boogaloo boys are doing this Hawaiian shirt thing. I used to love Hawaiian shirts when I was a teenager. When I was like 14, 15, 16, I used to wear Hawaiian shirts all the time. Maybe I should bring it back with them. But, you know, and they call the Boogaloo boys this far-right movement. It's not even, I mean, maybe it's kind of becoming a movement, but they also claim that the Boogaloo boys are trying to incite a civil race war. That's one of the lines that you keep seeing about the Boogaloo boys. First of all, Boogaloo boys is tongue-in-cheek in nature. It's mimetic. It's a mimetic joke that goes back to that 80s movie, Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, which was just some corny movie that was a sequel. And it just kind of caught on. It became a funny joke. It became memes. And I don't think these people, they don't want a civil war, but they have two eyes, so they're able to see the way that the media, the establishment, are trying to foment a civil war, and they understand that the people trying to foment the civil war might be successful in doing so, and they want to be prepared in case shit goes down. I want to be prepared in case shit goes down. You should be prepared in case shit goes down. And I'm talking to you as a white person, you as a black person, you as an Asian person, you as a Hispanic person. Should all be ready. You should all be ready to defend yourself, because that's what you're supposed to do for the people you love anyways. Defend yourself and them. So these guys came together over Second Rights Amendments, and you can see the sign this guy is holding. His name was Duncan Lemp. Her name was Breonna Taylor. And Duncan Lemp was a white guy whose house was raided, and he was shot while he was asleep, and he was shot and killed. And I think it had something to do with his house was being raided because of gun laws. And so you see these guys are coming together here. They're putting their fists together, and they're saying it's happening to both sides. It's happening to all of us. We're all being put upon by the establishment, and that's what the country's going to realize when they see these images. When they see, look at that. Fists raised, white Boogaloo boys, black power people, all standing together saying, no, we will not take it from the establishment. Our rights will be preserved. And when these images get out, when it's going to undercut all of the narratives that the mainstream media and the establishment have been pushing on these people. You're going to see that they have no problem standing together. Race isn't the issue. It never was. We have similar gripes, but from different perspectives. And once that realization happens, the establishment knows that once we're all together, once we're all united, we're going to turn and look at them and say, those are the ones, actually. And then we're going to go get them. And they know that. These pictures, I'm not going to read this article because it's really the pictures say it all. You see this guy here is carrying a katana. I can't tell if he has a gun on him. Yeah, it looks like he has a sidearm on him right there, but he's carrying a katana. I guess in Virginia you can open carry any weapon you want. Ooh, that's a nice AR-15 she's got there. What is that? It's a pistol. Yeah, look at this image right here. I mean, you see these guys are boog boys. I mean, they are G'd up from the feet up here. And they've got this black I don't know if it's Black Lives Matter. I don't think they're Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter has been taken over by too many Marxists to actually be part of this. But these are the people that are seeing through Black Lives Matter and saying, yes, we do have some issues with police brutality, with racial issues, but it's not these guys. These guys are not our enemies. And if we're standing here fighting for our constitutional rights, these guys are going to stand by our side and say, yes, give them their constitutional rights, us too. So this is fantastic. I mean, these are great images. And it's a great story because it completely undercuts the narrative, and it does it definitively. There's no coming back to the narrative after seeing that. So going back to this Newsweek article, okay, that was pretty much it. So we've got this group, Black Militia. Like I said, totally support a Black Militia forming and going out and fighting for constitutional rights for Black people and making sure that they are granted equal enforcement, or not. What's the word I'm looking for? They are granted equality in their rights, and that the enforcement of laws are equal between white people and Black people. Fully support that. To me, one of the reasons why I've never been able to get on board with a lot of these Black movements is they never correctly identify who the real enemy is. They never correctly identify who it is that's putting upon them, and it's mostly Democrats. Yet the Democrats pander to them, and and for some reason, I don't know what kind of trance the Democrats have people in. And this isn't just Black people. This is white liberals. This is, anybody on the left. But, especially minorities who have just been traumatized by Democrat policies since, of course we know the Jim Crow era, that was all Democrat, but even after that, with the Great Society, with the welfare programs, with the policing in big cities, all of the different things that the Democrat-controlled areas have done, yet for some reason, I think they're finally starting to realize, hold on, these guys aren't our enemies, it's these damn Democrats we keep voting for. And you know what? I hope they keep figuring that out. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I've got another video coming up, or this might be my second video. I never figure out how I release these while I'm shooting them. So, anyways, I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. You guys have a good day.